You think you're stronger than grown men, kid? Prove it or get lost. Construction foreman Rick Davis's voice boomed across the Phoenix construction site as he pointed at the stack of 50-pound cement bags. 15-year-old Marcus Thompson adjusted his bright orange safety vest and looked up at the towering pile of materials, sweat already beading on his dark skin under the scorching Arizona sun. "Sir, I just need this job to help my foster family," Marcus replied respectfully, his voice steady despite being barely 5 feet tall and weighing maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. "I can do whatever work you need." Rick laughed cruelly, his beer gut shaking as he gestured to the other construction workers who had stopped to watch. "Listen up, everyone. This little boy thinks he can do a man's job. Let's see if he can carry 20 bags to the 3rd floor without crying to mommy." From the air-conditioned comfort of his executive trailer, Khalil Al-Rahman, owner of Al-Rahman Construction Empire worth $2.8 billion, watched through tinted windows. The 52-year-old Arab millionaire had built the largest construction company in the Southwest, but at that moment, all his attention was focused on the young black worker being publicly humiliated below. There was something about the boy's face, the determined set of his jaw, the way he squared his shoulders against impossible odds, that made Khalil's heart race with a painful familiarity he hadn't felt in 20 years. Marcus Thompson had been bouncing between foster homes in Phoenix since he was 3 years old. Now, at 15, he was desperate to earn money for the Rodriguez family who had taken him in 6 months ago. They had 5 other kids, and every dollar Marcus could contribute meant food on the table and maybe keeping the lights on another month. "Timer starts now," Rick shouted, pulling out his phone with a malicious grin. "20 bags, 3rd floor, 1 hour. Fail, and you're banned from every construction site in Phoenix." The other workers looked away uncomfortably. They all knew it was impossible for one person, let alone a 15-year-old kid, to carry that much material up 3 flights of stairs in an hour. It was clearly designed to humiliate and crush the boy's spirit. Marcus picked up the first cement bag, nearly buckling under its weight, but his expression remained determined. He had learned long ago that showing weakness only made things worse. Khalil gripped the arms of his leather chair, his knuckles turning white. The boy's movements, the way he tilted his head when concentrating, even the slight scar above his left eyebrow, everything brought back memories of Ahmed, his son who had vanished without a trace 20 years ago during a bitter custody battle. Ahmed would be 23 now if he were still alive. But this boy, this determined young worker, had the same stubborn pride that Ahmed had shown as a toddler, the same refusal to give up even when the world seemed stacked against him. "Mr. Al-Rahman." His assistant Patricia knocked on the trailer door. "The city planning meeting starts in 10 minutes. "Cancel it," Khalil muttered, never taking his eyes off Marcus as the boy struggled with his second bag. As Marcus carried his 4th bag, stumbling but refusing to quit, Khalil noticed something that made his blood run cold. On the boy's left wrist was a small leather bracelet with Arabic calligraphy, the same bracelet Khalil had put on his 3-year-old son Ahmed the day before he disappeared. It was a custom piece, made by his grandfather's friend in Damascus, with Ahmed's name written in ancient Arabic script that most people couldn't even read. Khalil had only made one, and he had personally tied it on his son's wrist as a protection charm. The world seemed to stop spinning. 20 years ago, after his divorce from his American wife Sarah became bitter and vindictive, she had taken Ahmed and vanished. Khalil had hired private investigators across 3 countries, spent over $10 million searching, but they had simply disappeared into thin air. Sarah had been a master manipulator who knew exactly how to hide from someone with Khalil's resources. "That bracelet," Khalil whispered to himself, his hands trembling as he reached for the binoculars on his desk. Through the magnified view, he could clearly see the Arabic inscription, "Ahmed, beloved of Allah." His legs nearly gave out. It was impossible. Sarah had told everyone, including the courts, that she was taking Ahmed to start fresh where Khalil would never find them. The bracelet couldn't just randomly end up on some foster kid in Phoenix 20 years later. Unless... Rick Davis was getting angrier as Marcus continued to defy expectations. actually making progress despite the impossible task. Move faster, street rat. This isn't charity work. That's when Khalil al-Rahman, worth nearly $3 billion, made a decision that would change everything. If you want to discover the shocking truth about this boy's identity and see how a billionaire's world gets turned upside down in the most unexpected way, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for the incredible conclusion to this story. Khalil burst out of his trailer with such force that the door nearly came off its hinges. His white traditional thobe and orange safety helmet created a stark contrast as he strode across the construction site with the authority of a man who owned half of Phoenix's skyline. Davis! His voice cut through the desert air like a blade. Rick nearly choked on his chewing tobacco when he saw the company owner approaching. The other workers immediately stopped what they were doing, sensing that something monumental was about to happen. "Mr. Al-Rahman, sir. I didn't know you were on site today. Everything's under control here," Rick stammered, trying to position himself between Khalil and Marcus. "Under control?" Khalil's dark eyes blazed with barely contained fury. "You call forcing a child to perform impossible tasks under the threat of unemployment under control?" Marcus had stopped carrying bags and was watching this exchange with wide eyes, clutching the leather bracelet on his wrist, a nervous habit he'd had since childhood. "Sir, he's just a worker. We're testing his capabilities for safety reasons," Rick lied desperately. Khalil walked directly to Marcus, ignoring Rick completely. Up close, the resemblance was even more stunning. The same deep brown eyes that had looked up at him 20 years ago, asking endless questions about everything. The same stubborn chin that Sarah used to say came from Khalil's side of the family. "What's your name, son?" Khalil asked gently, his voice completely different from the commanding tone he'd used with Rick. "Marcus Thompson." "Sir," the boy replied, unconsciously straightening his shoulders with a pride that seemed too mature for his 15 years. "Where did you get that bracelet, Marcus?" Marcus looked down at his wrist, touching the worn leather protectively. "I've had it since I was little. The social worker said it was the only thing I had when they found me wandering alone in a Walmart parking lot in Tucson when I was 3. Khalil felt the world tilt on its axis. "Tucson," Khalil repeated slowly, his mind racing back 20 years. That was exactly where Sarah's sister lived, where he had suspected they might have gone first before disappearing completely. "Mr. Al-Rahman." Patricia had followed him out, looking concerned. "Is everything all right?" "Patricia," Khalil said quietly, never taking his eyes off Marcus, "I need you to call Dr. Hassan at Phoenix General. Tell him I need an emergency DNA test. Completely confidential. Today." Marcus looked confused. "Sir, did I do something wrong? I know I'm not as strong as the other guys, but I really need this job." Rick Davis, sensing that he was witnessing something far beyond his understanding, tried to regain control. "Sir, if there's a problem with this worker, I can handle—" "You're fired," Khalil said without even glancing at Rick. "Security will escort you off the property. Your final paycheck will be mailed." The entire construction site had gone silent. Rick Davis, who had terrorized workers for 15 years, had just been eliminated with 6 words. Khalil knelt down to Marcus's eye level, his voice gentle but urgent. "Marcus, I need to ask you some difficult questions. Do you remember anything from before you were found in that parking lot?" Marcus shook his head slowly. "Just fragments. Sometimes I dream about a man with a beard who used to read me stories in a different language, and a woman with blonde hair who was always crying. But the social worker said those might just be fantasy memories." Khalil's heart shattered. Sarah had blonde hair, and he had read Ahmed Arabic bedtime stories every night until the day they disappeared. "The stories," Khalil whispered. "Were they about a brave little prince who could talk to the desert animals?" Marcus's eyes went wide with shock. "How? How could you possibly know that? I've never told anyone about those dreams." 2 hours later, in Khalil's private office overlooking the Phoenix skyline, Marcus sat nervously as Dr. Hassan prepared to take a simple cheek swab. The boy had listened in stunned silence as Khalil explained everything. The bitter custody battle, Sarah's disappearance with 3-year-old Ahmed, and the 20-year search that had consumed his life and fortune. "Before we do this test," Khalil said quietly, his voice heavy with 2 decades of grief. "I need you to understand what finding you would mean to me." Marcus looked up, his young face serious and attentive. "For 20 years, I have searched every corner of this country for my son. I hired investigators in 43 states. I spent over $12 million following false leads. I checked orphanages, foster systems, homeless shelters. I never stopped believing that somewhere, somehow, Ahmed was alive and needed his father." Khalil's voice began to break. "Do you know how many times I thought I saw him? How many dark-haired boys I followed through shopping malls, thinking maybe, just maybe. But it was never him, until today. I built this entire empire hoping that one day my success would help me find you," Khalil continued, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Every building, every contract, every dollar, it was all meaningless without my son. I have a penthouse overlooking the desert, but I slept on your bedroom floor for 3 years after you disappeared because it still smelled like you." Marcus wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "Sir, I mean, if you really are my father, I need you to know that I never stopped hoping either. Every foster family, I would ask if my real dad was coming to get me. They said to stop dreaming, that he obviously didn't want me." "Never," Khalil whispered fiercely, kneeling down to Marcus's level. "Not for one single day did I stop wanting you. You are the reason I breathe, Habibi. You are my heart walking outside my body." Dr. Hassan cleared his throat gently. "Gentlemen, the test will only take a few minutes to process." As they waited, Khalil opened his desk safe and pulled out a small photo album wrapped in silk, something he had carried with him every single day for 20 years. Pictures of Ahmed as a baby, as a toddler, learning to walk, laughing in his father's arms, wearing the exact same bracelet that Marcus wore now. Ahmed means the praised one in Arabic, Khalil explained softly. "I chose that name because from the moment you were born, you were the most perfect thing I had ever seen." "Mr. Al-Rahman," Dr. Hassan said quietly, his hands trembling as he held the test results. "I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've never been happier to deliver results." Both father and son held their breath. "We, 97% probability. There is absolutely no doubt. Marcus Thompson is Ahmed Al-Rahman. Mr. Al-Rahman, you found your son." The silence that followed was sacred. Then Ahmed collapsed into his father's arms as 20 years of abandonment and longing finally found their resolution. Khalil held his son like he was afraid he might disappear again, whispering Arabic prayers of gratitude between his tears. "Welcome home, Ahmed," Khalil whispered. "Welcome home, my beloved son." But even in this moment of pure joy, one haunting question remained unanswered. What had happened to Sarah? How had a 3-year-old boy ended up alone in a parking lot while his mother simply vanished without a trace? The truth about Sarah's fate would prove to be more devastating than either father or son could imagine, a secret that would shake the very foundation of their newfound happiness and reveal that their story of reunion was only the beginning of a much darker mystery. Outside, Rick Davis was clearing out his office, wondering if maybe it was time to stop running from his own pain and start treating people the way he wished the world had treated him. But this was just the beginning of Ahmed's story, the story of a boy who went from foster care to inheriting a $2.8 billion construction empire, and who would soon discover that finding his father was only the first piece of a puzzle that would change everything he thought he knew about his past. Sometimes the greatest miracles happen when hope refuses to die. But sometimes the truth we've been searching for comes with a price we never expected to pay. If this story of never-ending love and the power of a father's determination moved you, subscribe to our channel for more incredible stories. Because the mystery of what really happened to Sarah Al-Rahman is a tale that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about family, loyalty, and the lengths people will go to protect the ones they love.